This horse might be the most interesting case ever brought to me to a clinic. He is classified as a Sidewinder, looks neurologic, but has tested negative for just about every neurological issue that there is, thoroughly vetted and found absolutely no physical issues that could be creating this type of movement. And as you can see, his hips just tend to slog around and he drags his hind legs out behind him. Some interesting things that really caught my attention was the owner said that when this horse is more fit, he does not move this way. And he'd been sitting for a bit in the field and started moving this way again. So that made me very interested in his movement patterns and why he would move that way with no physical underlying issues to create the drag in his hind legs. So I watched him move for a while and tried a few things to see if they would
those joints are
encourage a different pattern of movement, and I did not find that the pulls
were good.
Changed much. Normally this pull setup would really encourage one hind leg to stabilize while another stepped across, and in this case he kind of just drug the poles around behind him. So time to go to plan B. So after watching that, I decided to break it down into smaller, very accurate steps in hand. And what I'm asking him to do here is to come forward one step at a time and move in diagonal pairs. So when you see the next foot come, the opposite hind foot should come. So you can see how he's kind of not set up to do that. So when the right front comes next, the left hind should come next. And he's used to just sort of slogging around. So I am asking him to really consider how he places his feet. And I start to notice immediately that he's carrying those hind legs behind him straight, and his stifles and hocks are getting straight, which to me is just fascinating because all the movement that I'd seen prior to that were just his hips just sort of winging around wildly. So that was fascinating, making me think that maybe he just has extreme weakness in the hind end and is just pretty comfortable moving around that way, I guess. I can't say I know for sure, but this was totally fascinating to me to watch. So now you can see his hind leg is straight and supporting his body. As long as I keep it really slow like this, he's relatively straight. And the sidewinding does not continue. And the muscling around his stifles is somewhat weak, but not nearly as weak as many of the horses that I see. They're backed up in diagonal pairs for the most part.
And he's not twisting.
And then the left hind should be next. In diagonal pairs. It's pretty good. And then I just had his owner play with it, and you can see if he gets going too fast, he starts to get really bunched up and crooked.
To the left. There you go.
So that way it stays one little step at a time to kind of reformat his way of thinking about walking and slowly strengthen those areas.
He's starting to bring his hips under, and he's starting to straighten his stifles.
So we're just asking him to move one leg at a time.
Okay, now after this step,
pairs.
back in one step.
The diagonal pair of legs really offers the body a cross support system because in the walk, one foot is off the ground while three are on the ground at any given time. But moving in those diagonal
pairs
in
that little crevice of his
is
shoulders,
the most efficient way to move, and that allows the body to travel
pushing right
in
up to your
balance.
saddle. Yeah, good.
And backed up in a diagonal pair. And when I first brought him in, I didn't get it on video, but when she asked him to back up, his hind legs stayed still, and he just sort of tripped. So I thought this horse was really fascinating for that reason, that when slowed down and shown how to move in a diagonal pattern, he walked fairly straight, whereas when he first came in, he looked like his hind end was just sort of out of his control. And most horses that I meet would be nervous enough about that type of movement pattern, but he seemed pretty relaxed in general. So that I thought was a very fascinating case and worthy of sharing.
And he's not twisting. Good
Whoa, that
boy.
was cool.